Okay, good morning, everyone. Can everybody can hear my voice? Yes. Okay, good. Okay, good afternoon. MeanWell, Asia Pacific distributors and their customers. Good morning, MeanWell EMEA distributors and customers. I'm Albert, MeanWell Europe product manager. I'm based in Amsterdam, Netherlands, close to Amsterdam. First, thank you for participating today's webinar. Today's webinar will be divided into three parts. For the first part, I will introduce the MeanWell niche market product line. New products include DinRail type, open frame type, adapter, DC-DC converters. And in the second part, my colleague Dylan will introduce the technical specification of the new product. In the last part, we will have a Q&A section. So during the presentation, if you have any questions about the new products, you can use the Zoom text function to leave your questions. We will answer the questions as this section. Or you can also send an email to our product manager, Frank Chen. Okay, let's start today's presentation. Okay, first is the DinRail type power supply. Okay. Okay, I see the slide have some delay. Okay, the first, I think some participants are not familiar with the MeanWell power supply. So in each product line, I will put one overview table to let you know all of MeanWell power supply. For this page can give you an overview of MeanWell DinRail power supply. On the table, you can know we have AC-DC power supply, DC-DC converter, and some DinRail accessory to meet some special requirement for the system. To see the AC-DC power supply for the single phase, for customer need wide input voltage range, we have WDR series. For customer need high performance power solution, or medium tier level power solution, or economical power solution, we have SDR series, NDR series, and EDR series. For customer need three-phase power supply, we have TDR series. For these products are with the metal casing. For plastic casing, we have HDR series. It's mainly for the automation, but it's also certified with industrial regulation, so it also can apply to industrial application. For some system has space limitation, we also have the ultra slim mechanical casing NDR series. To see the DC-DC converter, we have DDR product series. You can see the product range, power range is complete. For the accessory, we have a redundancy module, UPS module, buffering module, and the AC inrush current limiter. In later presentation, I will introduce these new products. Okay, let's talk about the products. The first is WDR60. WDR series is more often used in industrial automation. We also see the demand for the 60 watts, so we developed WDR60. It's a DinRail type AC-DC power supply. It's because with the DinRail casing, it's easy to insert and then remove. From the picture, you can see it can with the niche installation. And WDR60 is with the slim thin design. is only 32 millimeter width. So it means you can install more devices in one cabinet. To see the input voltage, it can from 180 up to 550. It can be used in different grid power system. For WDR60, the circuit design meets over voltage category 3, we call OVC3. What is OVC3? My colleague Dylan will introduce more later. Simply put, the power supply with to meet OVC3 design, user don't need to install extra transformer or a surge protector in front of the power supply. It can save the total cost of the end system. And at the moment, only MeanWell has the 60-watt solution on the market. For the approvals, it's certified with industrial regulation. This page to show you for different grid power system, MeanWell has corresponding product series. For example, for the single phase grid power system, as the first page we show you, we have SDR, NDR, EDR, MDR, HDR series can correspond to this kind of grid power system. For three-phase, three-wire, we have TDR series. And for other grid power system, line to neutral, line to line, the voltage is in 180 to 550. WDR series can apply to this kind of application. And the next new product is a new DinRail accessory, ICL16 and 28. ICL means inrush current limiter. The function is to suppress AC inrush current. It can reduce the starting current due to the capacitive load or inductive load causing the circuit breaker tripping. For power supply and the LED driver, there's a capacitor on the primary circuit. So it also has this kind of issue. To solve this kind of issue, you can see the picture here. It can be installed one inrush current limiter between the circuit breaker and the power supply. It's with this ICL, you can install more power supply or LED driver. In next page, I will show you a real example. For this device, we provide two installation types. One is DinRail type. It can be installed in electricity cabinet. For the other one is linear type. It can be installed on the ceiling for lighting application. For the input voltage range is from 180 up to 264. You may have a question why MeanWell doesn't have the lower voltage, for example, 110. It's because when the input voltage is lower, the inrush current limit, inrush current also be lower. For this device, due to the circuit design, it cannot be used for DC input. This page to show you if the system with the circuit with the inrush current limiter and without the inrush current limiter. Here's let me show you an example. The ELG75 is a MeanWell 75-watt LED driver. It only can install 5 pieces as a behind a circuit breaker without the inrush current limiter. But if you install one inrush current limiter, you can install more than 5 times quantity led driver behind the circuit breaker. So with the inrush current limiter, you can install more power supply or led driver on the same AC branch to solve the circuit breaker tripping issue. And for user, they don't need to buy extra or more circuit breaker, so it can save the cost for the total system. And the next product is the redundancy module, DRDN20 and 40. With the redundancy module, you can use one more power supply as the redundant unit. You can see the example of the application here. You can connect two power supply to the redundancy module to supply the load. When one power supply fails, the other power supply can supply the power to the load immediately, and at the same time to send a signal to the system to let user know there's one power supply fail, need to be replaced. For this device, for this module, we have two installation type. One is DinRail type, and the other one is enclosed type. It can be used for the display application. For the voltage, for 5 volt, 12 volt, 24 volt, 48 volt are available. For the application can apply to industrial control, display, security, and the semiconductor industry. For this kind of redundancy module, it's very often used in semiconductor industry, because for semiconductor industry, they cannot accept the AC power outage. When the production stops, it will cause huge loss. This page is a comparison table of MeanWell previous version redundancy module and with the new generation redundancy module. From the table, you can see we add 40 amp model, and for the voltage, we add 12 volt, 48 volt, and 5 volt. Here, I need to emphasize only enclosed type redundancy module. We provide 5 volt model. For the working temperature, the new products can operate at higher temperature up to 80 degrees. For the dimension, new models with the smaller size. And the next is the new product, the other new product, buffer module, DBUF20 and 40. The function can provide temporary buffer time during AC power loss or interruption. As we know, for industrial automation, there are many industrial PC on the production line. When the AC power loss, it cannot, the PC cannot save the data or upload the data to the central system. Why? Because for the normal power supply, the hold out time only about 20 milliseconds. It's not enough for the PC to save the data. How to solve this issue? Here is an example. You can use the buffer module in parallel connect with the power supply to supply the power to the load. When the AC power loss, the buffer module can provide buffer time. For DBUF20, it can extend the hold out time up to 350 milliseconds. For DBUF40, it can extend the hold out time up to 250 milliseconds. The buffer time is relies on the internal electric capacitor. You can see the picture here. There we designed several capacitor in this module. The capacitor just like a low capacity battery. This page to show you mains failure to backout solutions. The solution one is to use the buffer module. As I mentioned in previous page, the new products DBUF20 and 40, the usage no battery needed, and the backup time is milliseconds level, can apply to the data storage application. The solution two is UPS module. MeanWell has DRUPS40 model. For the usage, it needs battery. You can connect the power supply and the battery to the UPS module to provide the power to the load. When the AC power outage, the battery can supply power to the load immediately. The backup time is hours label is longer, can apply to the security system. And for the maintenance cost, for the UPS module need battery, so So for battery replacement the maintenance cost is higher. This page to show you some common application for DinRail power supply. For factory automation, can apply to CNC machine, punch machine. For building automation, can apply to electric curtain or escalator. For green energy, can apply to solar PV power system or charging pole. For security and fire control, can apply to backup system, fire equipment. Okay, let's talk about the next product line, open frame. This page can give you an overview of MeanWell open frame power supply category. From the table left side, you can see it's a PCB type power supply. You can see the power range and it's complete. We have different size, 3x2, 4x2, and 5x3. And certified with industrial regulation and the medical regulation. And the power range is also complete from 25 watt up to 500 watt. At the right side, it's an on-board type. We provide non-party type product. MFN series is a medical grade power supply. For party type, we have a medical grade MPN series and the industrial grade IRN series. Later, I will introduce MPN and IRN new products. IRN 90 and MPN 45, 65, 90 series. Both of this product series are AC/DC high density compact size ball mounting power supply. From the slide, you can see the power range is complete from 1 watt up to 90 watt. And for the installation, we provide two installation mensur. One is PCB mounting type, can mount on the PCB directly. And for some system needs wire connection, we also provide screw terminal type. This page is a comparison table of IRN series and MPN series. For IRN, It's an industrial grade AC/DC power supply. For MPN, M means medical, it's medical grade AC/DC power supply. To see the input voltage, IRN can over ultra wide input voltage range from 80 up to 305. It can apply to 277 industrial voltage in North America or country with the unstable electricity. For MPN series, it also offer wide input voltage range from 80 to 264, can apply to the residential grid power system in worldwide. To see the low power consumption, for IRN is smaller than 0.21 watt. For MPN, smaller than 0.1 watt. To see the leakage current, IRN smaller than 0.25 milliamp to meet the industrial grade regulation. For MPN, is smaller than 100 microamp to meet medical grade regulation. For approvals, IRN certified with the industrial regulation. For MPN, certified with medical grade regulation. For the operating temperature, both product series can provide wide operating temperature from -40 up to 80 degrees. To see the EMC, here I need to emphasize both IRN and the MPN series can meet EMI Class B without external components. For this part, my colleague Dylan will introduce more later. To see the dimension, both product series are with compact size. This page to show you a common application of open frame power supply. For Internet of Things, can apply to the sensors, smart meters. For automation, can apply to the 3D printer. For household, can apply to smart faucet or a smoke detector. For medical, can apply to portable instrument or medical card. Okay, next product line is adapter. This page can give you an overview of MeanWell adapter product category. At the left side, it's a desktop adapter for users that need to buy extra AC cable. From the table, you can see the product range is complete, certified with the industrial regulation and the medical regulation. And the power range is also complete from 18 watt up to 280 watt. At the right side is a wall mount adapter. It's plug and play. The product range is also complete, certified with industrial regulation or medical regulation. The power range is from 5 watt up to 60 watt. And we also provide AC plug interchangeable type. Here I need to introduce a special MeanWell adapter, OWA series. It can pass the moisture-proof IP67 test and provide 5 years warranty. It can be applied to the outdoor equipment, for example, the no mower for charging. Let's talk about the product. First is the GEN6i series. GENI series is an AC interchangeable type, a medical grade adapter. One model for worldwide is suitable for equipment sales in many countries. Here, I would like to share a real case. One of our MeanWell medical equipment customers, in the past, they sell their equipment to United States market. They bought MeanWell medical adapter GSN series with the US plug. In recent years, they expand their business to Europe, so they have to buy the other model, GSN with the EU type plug. We knew this case, and we recommend GEM I series to this customer. So now they only need to buy one model for their equipment, for their business. For GEN series, it provides wide working temperature from -30 to 70 degrees. And this device complies with the two types MOPP and the body floating type equipment. The approvals certified with medical regulation. In addition, it's also certified with home healthcare regulation 6061-1-11 can apply to home healthcare equipment. You can see picture here as an example. It can apply to the internal nutrition pump. And the next new product is a new accessory for our adapter. It's a DC plug adapter. In the past, if a customer needs the plug, which is MeanWell standard product cannot provide, they have to go a modification process. For the sample lead time, it usually takes 2 or 3 weeks or more, and a MOQ is needed. In this kind of situation, for small quantity project or urgent demand, MeanWell cannot approach. Now we offer a quick solution, DC plug adapter. It's a plug and play. For the modification can be done in few minutes. So no MOQ, product in stock. Each DC plug adapter with one package. So user can only buy one piece. With this plug, it also can be provided to customer for prototype sample testing. When they finish the evaluation, has huge demand, they still can go back to normal modification process. So how to choose the right DC plug adapter? We provide a DC plug selection guide. At the moment, we have around about 20 type DC plug adapter. You can easily to find the right adapter here. But how to find this selection guide? First, you have to go to MeanWell website and check the adapter you want to buy, you want to use, to check the product spec. From the product spec, you can find the selection guide link. Then you can check to find the right adapter from the selection guide. Okay, next product line is the DC-DC converter. This page can give you an overview of MeanWell DC-DC converter product category. We have different installation type, enclosed type, DinRail type, PCB type, and on-board type. Each installation type we have represent models. For enclosed type, we have SD series certified with industrial regulation. For RSD series, R means railway. It's also certified with the railway regulation. For DinRail type, we have DDR series. It's certified with industrial railway regulation. For DDRH series, it's a totally new product series. It's an ultra-wide input voltage DC-DC converter can apply to solar PV industry. Later, I will introduce this product more. For PCB type, we have PSD series. For on-board type, we have the we have party type with a different pin type, SMD type, single inline package, dual inline package, and with we also order different size, 1x1, 2x1, 2x2, or brick size. For non-party type, we have isolated DC-DC converter, NSD series, and the non-isolated DC-DC converter, NID series. Okay, this page is the railway DC-DC selection table. For railway inquiry, most of the customer ask for the DC-DC converter. But there are many DC-DC converters product. How to choose? Here, I put a quick selection table here. I think from this table you can easily to find the right product to use in your system or recommend to your customer. First, to check what kind of the mounting type you want to use. For example, enclosed type or DinRail type, and then check the power, what kind of the power you need, and then the voltage, input voltage range, and the voltage you want for your system, and check the safety and the dimension. And later, I will introduce the ISD 500 and the DDR 480 new products. And this page is a medical power supply selection table. As we know, due to the COVID-19 situation, strong demand for the medical application. MeanWell also provide complete medical power supply. From this table, you can see we have open frame, adapter, enclosed type, and the modular type, on-board type power supply. So you can easily to find the suitable power supply to apply your system. And this section is DC-DC converter. So later, I will introduce the medical grade DC-DC converter, NDS, NDD series. I hope this table can help you easy to find the right product. Okay, let's talk about the products. The first is the DDR-H60. It's an ultra-wide input range DC-DC converter. The input range can from 150 up to 1,500. And for the output, we provide 5 volt, 12 volt, 24 volt, and 48 volt. The function is for the DC-DC voltage conversion and the regulation. You may have a question, why MeanWell develop this kind of product? You can see the picture at the right side. It's a photovoltaic power system, a PV system. Or you can imagine it's a solar plant system. For this kind of solar plant system, usually built at the remote area, for example, high mountain, desert. there is no AC grid to supply the power for the solar panel system device. For example, battery, monitor, controller, and the motor. So they need to use DDR-H60, this kind DC-DC converter, to convert the power from the solar panel and supply the power to the device in the system. As we know, for this kind of commercial solar plant, they use many solar panel in series. So the voltage is very high, up to more than 150. So for this kind of DC-DC converter, the input voltage range higher is better. For the approvals, this device certified with the IEC 62109-1. It's a regulation of the photovoltaic power system equipment. For this part, my colleague will introduce more later. To see the product key features, DGR-H60 is a fanless design, fully potted with groove, so no dust accumulation, provide good heat dissipation, so it's also with the high reliability, low system maintenance cost. And this device offers the wide working temperature from minus 30 up to 80 degrees. And it can operate at the altitude up to 5,000 meters. So this product is very suitable for the PV system at the remote area. Okay, next new product is DDR480. DDR series is a DinRail type DC-DC converter. It's certified with the railway regulation. The function is for DC-DC voltage conversion and the regulation. For the input voltage, we provide three types. And for output, we provide 12 volt, 24 volt, and 48 volt. To see the product key features, it's fanless design, convention cool, no fan, so it's no noiseless. It also provide wide working temperature from minus 40 up to 80 degrees. Here, I need to emphasize DDR480 built-in 3+1 parallel function up to 1,920 watt is easy to expand the power. At the moment, the MeanWell maximum power of DC-DC converter is 1,000 watt. If your customer has a larger power demand, you can recommend DDR480 in parallel. For the approval, it's certified with the industrial grade, industrial regulation and the railway regulation. It's applied to industrial application and the equipment on the train or at the train station. Next product is RST500. RST series is an enclosed type DC-DC converter. RST500 circuit design are similar to DDR480, so most of the spec are similar to DDR480. Also provide 3 input voltage range, and for output also provide 12 volt, 24 volt, 48 volt. To see the product key features, it's fanless design. In addition, it's semi-potted, so it's dust moisture proof and provide 5G anti-vibration ability, noise free. And it also provide wide working temperature from -40 up to 80 degrees. It's certified, for the approval, it's certified industry and railway regulation. The picture at the right side is an onboard air conditioning system. For SD500, it's very suitable to apply to this kind of system on the train. And the next new product is NDS15 and 20. It's a module type medical grade DC-DC converter. It's provide its input range is 2 to 1, and for the output voltage we provide 5 volt, 12 volt, 15 volt, and 24 volt. You may have a question. For the medical equipment, already use the medical grade AC to DC power supply. Why the system still need to add the DC-DC converter? I will explain more in next page. For this kind of medical grade DC-DC converter, the function is to reinforce the isolation between the input side and the output side, and also can reduce the output side leakage current to improve the system safety. You can see the picture at the right side. It's a medical grade monitor. You can use you can see it's used the AC medical grade AC-DC power supply. For this kind medical grade power supply, the leakage current is around 100 microamp. But some systems they require ultra low leakage current. So for this kind of case, you can add a DC-DC converter to provide more protection. It's safer. And for this device, it meets 2 times MOPP and provide wide working temperature from -40 up to 85 degrees. Okay, today we introduce several new DC-DC converter products. Here it's just a quick summary I put here for you, your first reference. This page to show you common application of DC-DC converter. For IT, industrial can apply to smart meter or transmitter. For medical, can apply to the blood cell counter or CPR device. For transportation, can apply to USB charger or broadcaster. For LED lighting, we focus on specific lighting. For example, horticultural lighting, solar power lighting. For this application information, you also can check from our online expo website. It's the end of my presentation. I'm going to invite my colleague Dylan to introduce the technical specification of this new product.
Okay, so thanks for Albert introduction for the first section. So basically the second section, I want to add some explanations in terms of the key features, the applications, also some technical notes for the new products. So then let's continue for the new products, WDR60. So WDR60 is introduced to WDR family. So previously we only have the WDR 120. So WDR60 is the lowest power supply for the high input range for the low power applications. And the key features of the WDR60 is the highly wide input voltage range from 180 to 550. this includes the single phase line, also the single phase out of the three phase, for example, the 208, 230, 277, 380, and also 480 VC. And for WDR60, it has approved a 61508 certificate, so with the benefit of OVC3. So what's the benefit of the OVC3? Let's have a look at what is OVC first. So OVC defines a transit over voltage category, which implies the ability of the power supply that can withstand an impulse voltage. So the most common source in the open area is the lightning strikes. So from this picture, you can see that from the outdoor to the indoor insulation, the OVC demand is downstream as well. So what is the benefit of OVC3 level? Let's have a look at the system design. So for example, if the customer are designing an industrial machine system and they need to apply for the safety certificate EN 60204, then they need to pass OVC3 level. So if they don't have the OVC3 power supply and they need to add the actual surge power devices or an isolated transformer to increase the overall system to OVC3 level. So if they are using the power supply with OVC3 level, then they don't need to add this actual surge protect device. So this could save the money and also size of the whole system. So in addition to the high input voltage of the WDR, you can also consider to be used for the EV charging station. Apart from the power charging unit, you can use WDR series for the power supply of the cooling system and also the controller. So generally, this is some key features of WDR60. So let's continue to the next model. The next model is the ICL. So ICL is so-called the inrush current limiter. Now we already have two current readings, 16 amps and 28 amps. So the inrush current limiter is to reduce the inrush current for the power supply when powering on at the cold state. So this is to be used to avoid the mistriggering of the existing installed circuit breaker. So the principle of the inrush current is straightforward. First, the high power resistor was conducted when the ICL was powered. Then an internal relay was controlled to close after some certain time to bypass the fixed resistance high power resistor. So there's no NTC inside this unit. That means the high ambient temperature cannot make any influence of the ICL inrush current reduction. So talking about the wire diagram, the ICL unit must be connected between the AC switch and the power supply. If you connect the ICL before the AC switch, then the ICL unit was always conducted, so it cannot provide any inrush current protections. And about the electrical features, due to the design concern, you can only use an AC system to the ICL 16 or 28. You cannot connect the DC input for ICL, otherwise it cannot work. And for the output, you can use our power supply such as the LED drivers or the industrial power supply to connect at the output. And before that, please check with our instruction manuals and calculate the current and also the capacitance to match the quantity of the power supplies. Please take notice that the ICL also has the input and also the output ports. Please check. You need to connect the AC source to the input and connect the power supply to the output side. So let's have a video. In this video, I want to show you how ICL is installed and how we can find the instruction manual to calculate the quantity of the power supplies. So I need to stop share first. Sorry. Maybe more. So after a quick look about the videos for the introduction of ICL, then I think you already have a feeling of how we can install the ICL and how to calculate the quantity of the power supplies. after using ICL, the quantity of the power supplies is largely improved. And so when we are using a system with the multiple power supplies, for example, the building automation, we can consider. Sorry, we are changing the screen shows. So. 我先搜了吗？已经选了吗？按你那个是。Okay, so we have an application with the multiple power supplies. Then we can consider to use ICL series. Then you can just connect the ICL series after the circuit breaker to reduce the inrush current for the whole system. So let's continue for the next model. The next model is DRDN 2040. So this is a model device for the redundant system. And the 2040 means the output current. So it can support both 1+1 and 1+n redundancy. So 1+1 means you are using two power supplies connecting with one DRDN and use one of the power supply as a redundant device. 1+n means you add more power supplies and the DRDN units to enhance the whole system reliabilities. So when we are considering the connection of the redundant system, we need to connect the power supply in parallel. So sometimes we got some confused. And there are two kinds of parallel connections. When we are selecting the power supply for the whole system, we are calculating the output voltage and current. So if a single power supply is not enough for the whole system power, they are considered to use a power supply with the current sharing function. So basically, the current sharing function power supply is to increase the system power. And apart from the connection of the output voltage pin, you also need to connect the current sharing pin. And in addition, if the power supply cannot provide the current sharing function, you can also use the power supply as a redundant component. So in this way, each power supply could provide a larger power rating of the whole system. So when we are connecting the power supply for redundant system, we must connect an extra dial at the output of each power supply. But sometimes, for the advanced system and high output current system, we're also considering to add an ORI MOSFET instead of the power diode. So what's the difference of the ORI MOSFET and the power diodes is the main difference of them is because of the components. So let's have a look at the difference of the components for MOSFET and the diode. So the ORI MOSFET, the main components is a MOSFET, which has a much lower conducting resistance. And most of the time, the multiple MOSFET was used in parallel to further reduce the conducting resistance. So compared with the power diode, it has a fixed forward voltage. So a typical forward voltage is about 0.5 volts. So considering a 24 volts system output, then one component takes about 2% of the whole system. That is a lot for one single component. So by using the power diode, it consumes a lot of power and also the heat. So when using the power diode, also this is not that cheap, not that expensive, but you also need to consider about the heat sink of the power diode. But compared with the power diode, MOSFET will increase the complexity of the whole system. But let's come back to the DRDN unit. When you are using DRDN unit, there is already the ORI MOS integrated in the unit. So when you are using DRDN unit, you don't need to consider or select any diode or MOSFET externally of the power supplies. So these some basic features of the DRDN unit. Then let's continue with another videos to give you some introduction of DRDN products. Sorry. Okay, so this is the video about the DRDN. So let's continue for the next modular, DBUF. So DBUF provides an extra buffering time of the power supply. And for 2040, it also means the output current of the unit. So if you are using the DBUF 2040, it can provide an extra buffering time typically and 250 and 350 milliseconds. This is the typical time for the full load. So if you are using a half load, the buffering time is also increased. So if one unit of DBUF is not enough, then you can also simply use the multiple DBUF and connect them in parallel to provide the actual buffering time. So by changing the deep switch, it can provide two kinds of buffer mode. One is the fixed 22 volts. The second is a dynamic volts. That means if you are selecting the fixed 22 volts, when the input voltage is below 22 volts, the unit start to operate. And if you select the dynamic mode, that means when the input voltage drops below 1 volts, then the unit start to operate. So this picture gives you some basic ideas of how DBUF unit provides the actual buffering time. And I will also show you another videos for the introduction of DBUF. And in this video, you can find how we connect the DBUF and how DBUF provides the actual buffer time, and including some measurement of the pin functions. Okay, so basically this video shows how DBUF provides the actual buffering time for the output load. And in the second part of this video, it also demonstrates some functions of the ports. So for the more details, please come to the spec. and find the more informations. So let's continue for the next power supply. Let's have a quick look at the IM series. IM90. It has a very small size compared to LRS 100 series. It has a 1/3 length less and about half length of the wings. So it has the low no-load power consumption, less than 0.2 volts, and also EMC ready without the external filter. So the benefit of EMC ready is this is the general market solution for the EMC filters for the whole system. So if the power supply has already EMI class B ready, then it saves you some time to find the solutions for the whole system to pass EMI class B. So you can find this information in the first page of our spec. So IM90 has a approval of 62369, and itself also design referred to 60335. So in addition to the low no-load power consumption, it could be largely used for the household appliances or IT applications. And for the household applications, this just give you some basic idea. For example, the water purifier or the air purifier. So continue with the next product. Let's have a quick look at the MPF. So for MPF, it also provides both PCB type, also the screw terminal type. And this product is especially designed for the medical applications. It provides two times MOPP medical safety. And in addition to the isolation requirement, it also has the low linkage current. So why linkage current is so important? This table shows you some information of the linkage current through the human being body. And you can find when the linkage current is less than 1 milliamps, the people cannot have the perception for the current through in the body. And when the linkage current becomes about 50 amps, it starts to have the life threatening. So MPF has the low linkage current less than 0.1 milliamps. So this provides also the safe for the human bodies. So continue with the next accessories. We introduce some DC plug converters. Now we have 17 kinds of DC plug converters. This provides the opportunity to plug and play, and you don't need to order the modification, and so there's no MOQ requirement for the DC plug converter. You can find this information from our website or from the link in our adapted data sheet. So apart from the straight, we also have the 90-degree plug converter. So let's have a quick look at the video of the application for DC plug converter. So after an introduction video, let's move on. The next product, DDR-H60. This is for the photovoltaic system applications or the solar system. So it provides a ultra-wide input range from 150 VDC to 1500 VDC. So this includes a large section of the solar arrays. And especially for the solar system, it passed a 62109 certificate. And for the solar system, apart from the installation for the family, it's always used also being installed in the high altitude. So DDR-H60 could also be installed below the altitude 5,000 meters. So why is it? The solar panels was installed in the high altitudes because at the high altitudes it has less atmosphere or the fog, for example. So the solar panels can absorb more sunlight from the sun. And apart from the installation at the open field, sometimes the solar panels was also installed on the mountains. So because of the snow can reflect the sunlight from the sun to the solar panel and further increase the efficiency of the transition from the sun to the electricity. So due to the harsh environment for this specific application, we have a special requirement for this test. And we test the unit, we put the unit at 175 degree dry heat, and after 1,000 hours, we make the hypo test. So this requires extreme standards of the heat convection, also the isolation requirement of the component. So let's move on to the second last power supply, DDR-480. And this is a DinRail power supply for a DC-DC converter. And this is designed for the railway standards applications. And apart from the railway applications, it could be also used for the DC-DC converter with the high power demand. So it could support 2 3+1 connection in parallel at the maximum power at about 1.9 kilowatts. And in addition, it could pass railway standards 50155 class S2. This is a regulation to define when the input voltage was interrupted, how was the performance of the output. So DDR-480 can stand for an interruption of the input up to 10 milliseconds, and the output voltage is not influenced. So S2 is already the highest level for the single power supply unit in the market solutions. So next product, this is also designed for the railway application, but in different type. So this is semi-potted, therefore it has higher dust, moisture, and also vibrating resistance. It has dual approval 62368 and 50155. So due to the features of the semi-potting, it can be used at 70 degree full load, just with an additional metal plate. So for the application, simply for the railway, it could be used to be installed in the train station or on the platform for the LED panels. So the picture on the left is just to give you some feelings on the vibrations. So for the railway standards, we also test the unit with a random vibration. So generally, this is the general explanations in the second part. And if you have more detailed questions, please, you can send us an email. So I will invite Albert with me for the Q&A section. So if you have any questions, just please feel free to ask us.
Okay. Okay, I'm Albert. Come back to pick out the Q&A section. Okay, let's see the questions at the chat. Okay. Okay, let's see the questions on the chat. First is Johan asking WDR, do we intend to have the certification against 62368-1? Okay, to see my, can you see the screen? Okay. For the main target application of WDR60, 61558 can cover mainly. Also 61558 is tighter. So then the 62368 from safety point of view. So if you have the project that really need ITE approval, please let us know by email. And Nicholas asked which kind of battery we can use with the DRDN. In general, for DRDN is a redundancy module to use the 2 power supply. If you really want to use a battery, it can be used for all kind of battery. But the critical part is the power supply connected to the DRDN module should be within the battery charging range. And also ask the other questions can be used the LiPo battery. Again, it's also make sure the battery charging range is same as the power supply. And the next is the newly asking the to MeanWell has any plans for a new version of DRUPS UPS module? Not at the moment. Please let us know the demand by email. And then Nicholas asking the MeanWell when DC-DC converter without the PoE. Currently, we have the UHP series 54 model for PoE. But if you still need the DC-DC converter without PoE, please let us know the demand by email. And next, Sebastiano asks, DC plug adapter are locked into the output cable connector. For this product, actually there is no lock on the DC plug adapter, but we did the pull force test for each type DC plug adapter. So, but I don't have the detail at the moment. If you need the further information, please let us know by email, and I can provide the information to you. And the next, Speciano asked the DDR-H60 for the regulation 62109 is approved or not. Okay, for this information, you can go to our website. You can see here, actually we have the LVD test report. Okay, and for more questions, let me check. And can ask, do we have any plan to make a DDI-H120? And I also saw other participants ask for other power, like a lower power or higher power. At the moment, we don't have the plan, but if you have a real project demand, please send the demand via email. So they to see the demand, we can realize the new product. And any questions? Okay, so I think I already answered most of your questions. If I'm missing any question, in the end, we will check all the chat information again, and we will consolidate all the questions and answers, and send provide a file to send the file via the email to you. And this, I think the time already to 11 o'clock. So thanks for your participating this webinar, and keep healthy, and see you next week. Thank you very much.